Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Tuesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenn Rashipura.
And I'm Esther Kamati.
Great to have you on the show, especially today on Family Day.
I hope everybody at home is enjoying this broadcast with their family as well.
My wishes as well. Getting into the news tonight, Urban and Rural Development Minister Erastus Utoani has called on local authorities to work together with community-based organizations such as Sheikh Dwellers Federation to address the housing backlog in the country. Utoani made these remarks at the official handover of 23 houses built through the Federation in Divundu in the Kavango East. We believe in and will continue to support the work of community-based organizations such as the Sheikh Dwellers Federation of Namibia, who have demonstrated their commitment and ability to contribute to the national drive towards providing affordable housing and proper sanitation to our people, especially those in the ultra-low and low-income categories, Utoani remarked. Now, the Sheikh Dwellers Federation's solution to housing is unique and worth supporting in that it is a case of the community itself taking action to address its own developmental needs. This is a clear testimony of sustainable and people-centered development, and I hereby pledge our continued support. I wish to urge other private sector players to put their money where their mouths are, namely by supporting worthy causes such as the work of the Sheikh Dwellers Federation. Utoani called on other local authorities who have jurisdiction over urban land to make green fields available to the Federation so that the Federation can in turn facilitate the construction of affordable housing and service. Hence, Utoani took the opportunity to thank the Divundu Village Council for availing the land on which these houses have been constructed. Social crisis, Utoani said that although the government is faced with a number of challenges through the national development goals, they can be addressed. This is definitely a step in the right direction, and I highly, commend the team behind this project.
Certainly, and I just hope that the support coming through from the government is not just verbal, but can also be tangible in terms of contributing money to help grow these projects. So it's especially unique to me that this is a project born out of the community themselves that saw that there's an issue and nobody is addressing it, so they put their hands together and their brains together and decided to come up with organizations such as the Sheikh Dwellers organization.
Yeah, and that puts it into perspective, like most of the time when we have problems and things that are affecting the communities at large, we look to the government and we are, yes, what can the government do? But when people, hold hands together and try to solve problems affecting their communities, that's really, really commendable. Not that I'm saying that the government shouldn't step in, but it's great to see that communities are working together. I mean, people in the community are coming together and solving some of these really, big issues.
And once the community organizes themselves, it's also easier for policymakers to assist them as well, because they're already a unit.
The teamwork makes the dream work. Now, getting into our next story, there has been an increase in the number of arrests made in crimes related to pangolin trafficking between the 1st of September and the 30th of November this year, according to spokesperson of the Environment Ministry, Romeo Muyunda. 18 pangolin skins, 12 live pangolins, and 146 scales have been confiscated, resulting in 23 registered cases and 38 suspects arrested. These numbers surpass that of elephant and rhino arrests combined for this period. Muyunda said these cases are predominantly from the northern regions, with Kavango West having the most cases registered, and then Kavango East, Ohangwena, Oshana, and Zambesi regions, each registering 3 cases. Central regions cumulatively registered 4 cases, and only 1 case was registered in the Kunene region. He said before September, there had been only a total of 6 live animals recovered and 19 skins confiscated from January to August. In association with registered crimes, the total animals poached this year between live animal skins and scales comes to 50, with an additional 2 fetuses miscarried by live confiscated female pangolins, said Muyunda. He stressed that pangolins are under serious threat and the trafficking of wildlife is a serious offense. You will be arrested and sentenced for this crime. According to Muyunda, to date, the heaviest sentence for the trafficking of a pangolin or its parts in Namibia was 9 years direct imprisonment, and the heaviest fine was 800,000 Namibian dollars. Pangolins are protected under the Nature Conservation Ordinance and the Controlled Wildlife Trade and Product Act. Possession of a pangolin or its parts carries maximum sentence as for rhino horn, up to 15 years imprisonment and up to a $15 million fine. The trafficking or sale of pangolins carries a sentence of up to 25 years imprisonment and a $25 million fine. Wow, those are hefty sentences. Wow.
They are hefty, but I do believe that they're necessary because this deters people from committing this crime. It's actually a shame because the pangolin is in fact endangered, and Namibia is one of the few places where you can still find it. I think law enforcement is doing enough, but certainly to curb the issue in its entirety, I feel like people need to be educated more on, like they're saying, the pangolin is certainly protected by law, and people should not tamper with and try to smuggle it and so forth. So with community participation, I feel like a larger impact can definitely be achieved.
I also commend the ministry, for having, such extreme measures of punishment if you're found, having one or killing one, etc. So I really commend the ministry on that, and I hope more people become aware, and also just like the sentencing or what could happen to you if you are, breaking the law. Coming up, we get into our entertainment news. Do stay with Sunset News. Now getting into our entertainment news, Namibian Afropop and Kizomba artist Wanesto Papi on Monday, the 18th of December, digitally released his debut album titled Overdosing on Blessings. The music project boasts 18 tracks showcasing the artist's versatility and features collaborations with an array of talented Namibian musicians, including Ms. Rosglo Tala and more. According to Wanesto Papi, Overdosing on Blessings is a dedication to his craft, blending genres seamlessly and delivering a fresh sound that resonates with audiences across the nation. He maintains that the album is a reflection of his growth, both as a songwriter and a performer. The journey has been a roller coaster, I must say. I had to balance and juggle life between family, work, and studio time, whereby family and work took up much of the time and delayed my musical projects. Nonetheless, I managed to work on the album, he said. He added that the collaborative nature of the album is evident in its diverse lineup of tracks, stating that each feature has its unique fusion of styles and voices. Fans and music enthusiasts are invited to embark on this musical journey as Overdosing on Blessings takes them through a tapestry of emotions and experiences, he noted. Wow, I'm actually really curious to hear how the album sounds like.
Overdosing on Blessings. Wow. That's an interesting title.
That should be my New Year's motto, Overdosing on Blessings.
But also, I didn't know we had Kizomba artist here in Namibia, so I'm looking forward to listen to his album.
Yes, and I also like the fact that he also has like an interesting lineup of the people that are featured on the album, so that's very interesting as well.
And perfect timing. It's December. We need new tracks.
And we need to overdose on the blessings. After the break, we'll be getting into our story of the day. To stay with Sunset News. In our story of the day, Raphael Hamunyela, the Commissioner General of the Namibia Correctional Service, has called upon Namibians to embrace the spirit of forgiveness, particularly towards inmates currently serving sentences. In an interview with Namibian Sun newspaper, Hamunyela emphasized the importance of forgiveness as a crucial component of the rehabilitation process. The Correctional Services Rehabilitation Program includes facilitating face-to-face conversations between offenders and the families they have wronged, providing an opportunity for inmates to seek forgiveness. Despite these efforts, Hamunyela highlighted the challenges faced when individuals, even after 25 years, find it difficult to forgive, with this reluctance to forgive posing a significant obstacle to the successful reintegration of individuals completing their sentences. Hamunyela recounted instances where families refused to welcome back their incarcerated relatives, citing instances where children, even after 2 decades, rejected their parents upon their return. To address such challenges, the Namibia Correctional Service has decided to involve pastors to provide counseling and spiritual guidance with the aim to enable communication between family members and encouraging them to understand the importance of giving individuals a second chance. If an inmate has apologized to a family, you can see there is immediate change. It helps them to progress with their life and to start living a positive life, even if the inmate is on parole or not going out with a feeling of fear. Now, when families do not accept an apology, it is difficult for us, but we have to work with the inmates to make them understand that the family is still angry, and we find that as time goes on, one of the family members will come and listen to the forgiveness. Every person deserves a second chance, he said. Wow, that's very heavy. Do you think every person deserves a second chance?
Certainly, every person does deserve a second chance, but you can't hold it against a family that has been wronged when they hold a grudge for even after 25 years, because you can't put a time limit on healing. So I think it's important that the Correctional Services has realized that simply counseling the inmate or the offender is not enough, because it also takes counseling for the person who has been wronged to eventually heal, or the family of the person who has wronged to heal from that wrongdoing, for them to eventually open up their hearts and their homes to them, because it's as if this person is not the same person that you know anymore. But it's also commendable for the Namibia Correctional Services in terms of trying to rehabilitate and reintegrate these people into society and not leaving them out as outcasts. So that's very important.
And also that's how you cut the crime cycle, because if they are not successfully reintegrated back into society, they will go back to either doing more crime or etc., or continuing in the pattern that they had before. So it's commendable, but obviously the community plays a big role in this, and if we are willing to be open to forgiving and welcoming the inmates back into society.
And the Correctional Services actually does a lot, because when you're in jail, they give you opportunities to further your studies. You learn skills. Some of them are in jail, but they're learning new skills. They are doing VTC related courses and so forth. So it's very easy for them to come back and actually be able to make a livelihood for themselves. And now integrating that and actually adding the component of emotional support and well-being and fostering an environment for them to be forgiven is actually very precious as well.
That's really commendable. Imagine you're serving time and then you come out with, several degrees.
Exactly.
Moving on, in our international news, a robot gives Christmas greetings following year AI went viral. We'll expand on this story right after the break. Getting into our international news, an ultra-realistic robot artist called Ida will take part in a UK Yuletide tradition nearly 200 years old, the Royal Institution Christmas lectures trying to demystify artificial intelligence. wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. She told Reuters as she prepared for her new role, named after British mathematician and computer pioneer Ada Lovelace. The robot Ada is designed to blur the lines between humans and machines and provoke debate, and she will do just that as she interacts with and paints this year's guest lecturer Michael Wooldridge, professor of artificial intelligence at the University of Oxford. What we're aiming to do with these lectures is look under the hood, demystify it, and show you what's going on, Professor Wooldridge told Reuters. Wooldridge says AI has the potential to make all our lives better, but warns there are risks to it, especially with the fake news. I think we haven't seen anything yet compared to what's possible, he said. Okay, what are your thoughts on this?
A robot that paints. I've heard of an elephant that paints, but not of a robot. That's interesting.
I mean, should we be worried for our jobs?
I think there have been instances, especially in the creative space when it comes to music, particularly where there have been copyright infringements, where a song is released and it sounds exactly like a particular artist, but it turns out it's not that artist, but rather it's an AI-generated song. So I thought only the musicians were in trouble, but it turns out painters and soon eventually even actors and actresses might be in trouble.
Yes, if it can paint.
If it can paint. But certainly I feel like we're using AI too much for entertainment when we could actually be using it to solve real life problems. For instance, it would have been better if you could generate an AI robot to go to war instead of real people. But here we are getting AI to paint instead.
Considering the climate that we're in terms of the two wars that are happening currently. Well, that's actually a good point. Well, hopefully it can solve those kinds of problems instead of taking away creativity from the people. After the break, we'll be getting into our economic news.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The Agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The Agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Getting into our economic news, Boeing is set to restart deliveries of its 787 Dreamliner to China within days, a source told Reuters, a step that could pave the way for China to also end a more than 4-year freeze on deliveries of Boeing's profit-making 737 MAX. Jena Zhao Airlines, a privately owned Chinese carrier, will receive in Shanghai a new 787 Dreamliner from Seattle, a source familiar with the matter said. In a sign, the U.S. plane maker is moving closer to resuming 737 MAX deliveries, trade publication. The Air Current said on Wednesday Boeing had this month won a key clearance from China's aviation regulator, the Civil Aviation Administration of China. Now, Chinese orders and deliveries of Boeing planes have been largely suspended since 2019 after 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019 that led to the MAX being grounded worldwide in 2019. Now, the safety bans have been lifted as existing MAX planes, Boeing's most profitable model, are flying inside China, but new deliveries have remained on hold. What are your thoughts?
I just hope that the safety concerns have been taken not lightly, but have been resolved in order for these planes to continue being imported.
Yeah, and the fact that they cleaned up so quickly. I mean, 2019, and 3 years later, they are ready to reintegrate into the airspace. After the break, we'll be back with more Sunset News.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Getting into our sports news, UEFA and FIFA contravened EU law when they prevented the formation of a so-called Super League, the European Court of Justice said on Thursday in a landmark judgment that could change the way soccer is governed. Now, the European soccer clubs that had threatened to form the breakaway league, which sparked widespread protests among angry fans, had been threatened with sanctions by UEFA. In its ruling, the EU's top court said that FIFA and UEFA abused their dominant position by forbidding clubs to compete in a European Super League, although that project may still not be approved as the court did not rule on it specifically. Yeah, I think it was unfair to do that. I think they had a right to compete elsewhere.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we always push for versatility and for showcasing talents from all across the world. So it definitely was not right.
Moving on, Western Province Professional Rugby and Windhoek Drought Griquas have concluded a development agreement that should further grow the DHL. Stormers, in their quest to take up a place at the top table of World Club and franchise rugby, as well as helping Griquas in the Currie Cup. The agreement will be of benefit to the players from both unions and ultimately add to the playing resources of the Stormers in the Vodacom United Rugby Championships and Investor Championships Cup. Now, the agreement was hinted at a few weeks ago by Stormers coach John Dobson, but was officially announced on Thursday. It is a strategic player development deal that will smooth the pathway for Griquas players to represent the Stormers, while at the same time introducing a loan structure that will allow fringe Stormers players to get game time and gain experience playing for Griquas. Yes, definitely people do need more experience, and I think that's a step in the right direction. I don't know much about the sport, but I would just say it's always needed to get experience.
Agreed.
Moving on, it was Novak Djokovic's year as he won 3 of 4 majors, but KG Munchana and Kevin Anderson were key subplots in the tennis tapestry. Novak Djokovic enjoyed an exceptional year as he won 3 of the 4 Grand Slams and ended the season by winning the ATP Finals after beating young gun Jannik Sinner. The Serb, who won a record-breaking 7th ATP Finals title, remains at the peak of his powers at the age of 36. Having endured a turbulent 2022, Djokovic underlined his dominance in the sport and streaked ahead of the injured Rafael Nadal and the retired Roger Federer, with 71 big titles to his name and 98 singles triumphs. Well, he must give us the winning recipe. Thank you so much for joining us on Sunset News today.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. From me, Glenn Rashipura. Until next time.